You believe that securitization has a future?
Sure, I think securitization does. And if you look at different markets, the mortgage real estate securitizations blew up, I think, for reasons outside the scope of the securitization structure. It blew up for political reasons, Fannie Mae, and the way fundamental regulatory flaws, perhaps. But if you look at other securitization markets, pharmaceutical royalty rights thrived throughout this whole period. A company called Pharma has been active in securitizing pharmaceutical royalty rights.
What is a pharmaceutical royalty right?
So if a pharmaceutical company develops, say a Pfizer or Merck, any of the companies develops a pharmaceutical product, many years ago, typically they would have all the rights to that product from soup to nuts. But now, given the heterogeneity of the biotech and medical industry, different people will have royalty rights to a product. You might have a lab that did antibody development that has a trailing royalty. And what Pharma did, which was brilliant, was to see that these rights could be packaged and securitized, and that one would actually have true risk heterogeneity, and thereby overall risk reduction.
And this risk heterogeneity is the key here. That we didn't have that in the mortgage market, did we?
That's correct. In the mortgage market, you had countrywide really imposing national standards, and so you had risk profiles which were homogeneous and which also were much higher than people realized. While in the pharmaceutical royalty rights business, it really is the contrary. One drug, Merck's drug and Abbott's drug will have totally different profiles and can sell in totally different amounts. And so the underlying finances have structure of those drugs have no correlation.
And is this an important business for Wall Street? Wall Street needs revenues these days. Is this going to help them out?
Yeah, I think it should. I mean, I think one thing is if one is analyzing pharmaceutical companies and biotech companies, for example, Glaxo or an AstraZeneca or Sanofi, have tremendous numbers of products that have royalty streams which these companies could use to provide liquidity. So I think it's probably an untapped resource in terms of the pharmaceutical rights. And again, I think the royalty pharma analytical profile really, it was something new and novel, and I think that's something where Wall Street should try to utilize it. It's useful.
Which investment banks are doing big business in this area?
One thing investment banks have is a strong research department in healthcare. If you get J.P. Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, Wells Fargo, all the major investment banks have first-rate healthcare teams that can, for their clients, evaluate these royalty rights. And then what you're getting now is a source where the investment banks can place them. So I think it is an area where they're going to become more and more active, and they've got the intellectual capital to both to analyze the product themselves, but also to analyze the underlying financial models which would drive the securitization of that product.